guys, welcome back to my art channel. If you're new, hi, I'm May, and I make digital fluid pours with cells, digital fluid art or digital pour art. And today we're going to be looking at Revert cells or pop through canvas cells on IbisPaint. If you don't know this program, it's free for both iOS and Android, and I think you can do a paid version as well if you don't want any ads. But yeah, it's a free program and it's fun to use. So if you haven't tried it or used it, definitely check it out. And if you have, let's get started. So we're going to start with a canvas of 600 dpi by 2400 by 1680. I hit OK. I'm going to shrink down our canvas like so. And then I'm going to be starting with the brush, Airbrush Trapezoid 60%, and with a very vibrant green, purple, and blue color palette. Feel free to screenshot the screen and copy these colors if you'd like to follow along exactly. And before we can do our revert cells, our pop through canvas cells, we're going to have to make our digital fluid pour, which I do have a tutorial as well up on YouTube, so definitely check out my previous video and I'll have a playlist of all my tutorials as well. But if you've already watched it, let's get started. And start with our airbrush. I think we're going to start with a white background. Actually, start with a black background. Vibrant colors show up pretty good on black. And we're going to do a second layer, which means, actually, delete that one. Second layer, then put your black down. Let's pick some colors. And I like to always make sure that my brush settings is maximum so I can play with my brush size to the fullest possible size it can go. So under your brushes, you just go to settings and under max thickness, just put it at 4096, which is the max it can go. And then you can have your brush super small or super large. I'll start laying down colors, overlapping some areas, be a little more vibrant, like so. That blue going. Like I said, just have fun with it and lay down colors in random areas, because you can get very controlly with it and intense, but these tutorials we're just going to have some fun and get the idea of how the paint and the brush strokes work with turning it into a fluid pour and getting the basic idea of how the cells work. And then you can practice and make some crazy designs. Like I said, this is just kind of have some fun with it and not be too serious. Which is kind of cool. Now we're going to lay down just a little bit of yellow, just in a few spots. And you find after you've laid down some color, if you've lost some, you can always go back in and bring that color back in a few spots. And once you have a pattern that you like, then we're going to start creating our digital pour. Like I said, and then we're going to go into filters and go all the way to the right. Mine's already all the way to the right just because I was making a previous tutorial, and often when I'm making my digital fluid pours, it's already here anyway. So we're going to start with wave, just to get that more wet look. Transform. And the reason why I do transform and I pull the edges out, because if you left these white edges and went to move them around, then you'll have big, thick white chunks all throughout it. Which, if you like that look, awesome, but I personally prefer just to have the colors that I put down. And then I actually wanted it a little more blurred, just to get more of a different effect. So we're going to go over to the left here until we find Gaussian blur, and just blur those out a little bit more. If you want even more blurred, you can keep layering it over top, like so. And then back over to the right. And then I'm going to start with ripple up that radius Change that aspect ratio so it goes the whole screen. Play with the phase a little bit. And then distortion and wingdings is where you tend to stick with this with ripple the most. Like so. And drag it down. And do another one. And you pull it off to the side. And then one in the middle. And drop right down. Like so. Now let's see what polar coordinates look like. I liked it before, so we'll put it back. And then my center doesn't have a whole lot going on, so then you can shrink your radius down a little bit and concentrate it more in the middle to get more of an interesting pattern. So then we have our base going, which is awesome. And now to create our revert cells, we're going to be using the special pen. And like in my digital fluid pour tutorial, you can start with drag. So you can leave it like this and you don't have to do any cells if you want. But if you want to make cells, we're going to have to move the paint around, because what these cells do is it reverts the paint back to the original position. But we're going to concentrate it in small, tiny little circles to create the cells. But if you haven't moved the paint around, then the revert option won't work. So we are going to have to play around and move our paint around. Like so. Until you have a pattern that you like. She's looking very electric. All those bright colors. And shrink your canvas down so you can get all the edges. Like I said, I'm not trying to make anything perfect here, just to give you guys the idea, and then you can fly at her and spend hours creating some pretty trippy art. So once you have a design that you like, then we're going to go over to this erase icon down here, which is called Revert. Now keep in mind, if you exit the pen over here at any point, you will not be able to create revert cells, because just like Procreate, once you leave it, it kind of sets the paint. So you want to make sure to stay on the liquify pen to make your revert cells. And then we're going to drop it down to around 100 pixels. And like I said, you can, smaller the better, but you can do large ones as well. We'll kind of go nuts and show all different sizes. And then kind of pick anywhere where you kind of want to see cells start. Just kind of hold your brush in a circle like so. And it starts to revert it, which is kind of cool. Now, if you haven't moved the paint much in certain areas, it won't necessarily move it. And the smaller you do it, you can kind of control the shape of the cell like so. Like I said, it's so cool how they turn out. And the nice thing that I like with IbisPaint that I wish Procreate would do is enable you to go back. Because let's say you're playing around with these bubbles and you just kind of don't like how they're turning out for whatever reason, or you don't like the placement. You can actually hit the back button and it will go back each individual step, or you can put it all back, which is pretty cool. And keep working on it so you can kind of test areas to see how the paint will look as you pull it up, which unfortunately with Procreate it doesn't really give you that option. And then do the little flyaway cells that you get. And you can go even tinier and do the little torch bubble cells, like so. And then, like I said, you can up the size and do some really big cells, like so. It's pretty cool. And if you want to do even larger ones, and have them kind of, the larger you go, it won't really make cells, but just revert the paint back. So you want to be careful of that too. Just getting used to how it moves on the canvas. Do the little flyaway ones. Get those little torch bubbles, like so. You can do as many as you like. You can fill your whole canvas, or just have a few kind of bleed into certain areas. Like that. Your imagination and ideas you can come up with this are endless, which is pretty cool. And then you can manipulate them further, because if you don't like how they, as you can shape them how you want, like so. But if you don't like how they're turning like uniform, you can go back into your drag feature and kind of manipulate them a bit to give them more of a wonky little shape, like so. If you don't necessarily like how the edges are here, you can take your shrink feature and very, very gently pull those edges in just ever so slightly. I find the shrink tool is a bit hard to use though, so keep that in mind as well. It takes a little bit of practice, and if you want them to look more stuck together, very gently play with the shrink tool to get more of a connected look. It's kind of cool, like so. And then if you want to, if you like how your cells have turned out, you can even go back into your filters. What I like to do is you can take your ripple option and drop the distortion down to 1 and play with the wingdings. That's such a funny word. And your radius. And you can kind of get the cells more of a rippled look that way as well, so they don't necessarily look so uniform, and kind of have a more abstract, trippy feel to it, like so. Or you can up the distortion, have a bit of a pull, like so. I think they're pretty cool. And yeah, and that's how you make revert cells or pop through bubble cells on IbisPaint. And they're so cool. And yeah, if you recreate any of the art, definitely follow me on Instagram and tag me in your guys' creations. I love seeing everybody's artwork. And go give me a follow so we can grow the art family. And like I said, just tag me, because I really, really want to see your guys' creations, because this is such a fun idea. And if you think you're the most non-creative person in the world, think of it like finger painting. And anyone can do finger painting. That's the best part about this, is it doesn't, you can have as little or as a lot of skills and still come up with some pretty cool artwork. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!